Quit porn and make more money. That's really our topic, and you're going to be amazed at what you learn in the next few moments. If you have yet to subscribe, do that. If you got a question, put it in the box. Listen, I want to tell you first who I am, because this is going to blow your mind how much money you make when you stop doing porn and masturbating. I'm telling you, it's really true. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss. For the last 40 years, I have done masturbation and pornography histories on men and women who have a sexual addiction. And they are really, their whole lives revolve around the pornography, the masturbation, others, intrigue, all this kind of stuff. And if that's you, there's so much help at drdougweiss.com. And so I want you to get those materials, videos, all that stuff. But that's not my point today. My point is to share with you my experience. Now, so for 40 years, remember where you were 40 years ago. You might not have been born. You might be in high school. No matter where you were, it was a long time ago, because it was a long time ago for me. Now, imagine year after year, men coming back to you and telling you, Dr. Weiss, I cannot believe what's happened to me. And you're thinking, wow, you love your wife, you're a better dad, you're having better sex, and all of that's true if you stop doing the pornography and masturbation, if you have an addiction. All of that's true. But that's not what they were saying. They're saying, Dr. Weiss, what I mean is I am making so much more money than I've ever had in my life. I did not know how much pornography was draining my creativity, my time, my energy. I didn't know how much my soul was being vexed by guilt and shame and fear and anxiety, because I was always looking over my shoulder. What if my wife finds out? What if my friends find out? What if my people, my social group find out that I have this secret life with a certain flavor of pornography that would be embarrassing and shameful? And I'm masturbating all the time. And what if they find out? Well, here's what I have found. Now, there is a few criteria for this, and then I'm going to tell you an exception to this. If a man or woman owns their own business, they are entrepreneurs, they are salespeople, or in some way their effort creates more wealth, they will double or more than double their income of 12 months of not masturbating and not doing pornography. And I can tell you a true story of a corporate guy who was in Florida. I'll never forget him, handsome Cuban guy. I went down and did a conference for a counseling center, and I shared this information. It was a men's conference, and I shared this information. And there was a Catholic man in the back, and he was listening. And a year later, this counseling center had me come back and do exactly the same conference because they had such good results. And so I'm like, okay. So I came back, and when I was in a break early on, this guy came up to me and said, listen, I want to take you to lunch. I said, well, ask my host if that's okay with my host. Fine with me. And so he took me to a great Cuban restaurant. I'll never forget. It was so good. But he sat down with me and he said, I have a reason I'm bringing you for lunch today. I said, okay. He said, I want to tell you that you were wrong. I said, well, that's great. I'm okay with being wrong if it can be proven. He said, well, last year you said if I would stop masturbating, and you did say if I was an entrepreneur or business owner, so you did qualify. But you said if I would stop masturbating and doing porn, that my income would double. Now he says, I work for a corporation, large corporation, and I've actually quadrupled my income in the last 12 months. And I want to say thank you. And that's what this lunch is all about. This is real. When I have clients, they fly in, they do 5-day intensives. Oftentimes I might have them do a cost card. Or if they're doing phone counseling with one of our counselors, they might do a cost card. And when they realize the amount of hours that they've spent since junior high, high school, 20s, 30s, 40s, and they put that and they combined it with their hourly rate at that time in their life, and they add that number up, it's usually between $200,000 and $2 million on average. There's exceptions on both sides. And when they realize how much money they've lost, and the longer you go in porn addiction, the more money you lose because you're not working at your full potential. You're trying to cut corners so you can get time to get away with fantasy boo-boo mommy, okay? And you're not as motivated. You're more depressed, more likely, Okay, you have other symptoms because of the addiction. You're spiritually, emotionally, and morally immature, so your decision making is not optimal. Your relational skills with your wife or husband are not optimal, and so you're not having the best of life. You're kind of surviving, but you have the skills and the abilities to really thrive and be really successful. And a lot of times, the people closest to you wonder why you're not flying and why you're pecking the ground like a chicken instead of flying like the eagle you have inside of you. Well, I want to encourage you. There's a lot of reasons to stop porn. First of all, it'll just heal your heart. You won't have guilt and shame or fear, anxiety, or depression. If that's the cause of what's going on, they can be independent, but in my experience, sometimes they're very interdependent. And it would take a professional to separate that for you. But you can have the best sex ever. You are not having the best sex if you have a porn addiction. It is not possible. Many times you're having to go to the fantasy world instead of actually enjoying the person who's in front of you. You're not even capable of having spirit, soul, and body sex. 3-dimensional sex is way better than 1-dimensional sex. Okay, and you're probably more selfish during sex, more objectifying of people. And so you have a lot of limitations that you can't see because you're in the cloud. Okay, it's like a drunk at the bar. He doesn't realize how drunk he is. He doesn't realize how unproductive he is. He doesn't realize, 5, 10, 15 years of this, his wife's not happy when he stops at the bar for 4 hours a night. Okay, doesn't see his children. He's in a funk. He's in a cloud. Listen, I've helped well over 5,000 clients get and stay well from sex addiction, pornography addiction. Call our office, 719-278-3708. You can get help. You can get in support groups. You can come to a 5-day intensive. And if you're a partner of a sex addict, there's the partner betrayal trauma material. There's the partner healing from his addiction material. There's lots of videos on this. And you're not responsible if your husband or wife is a sex addict at all. That was their choice way back when they were like 12, 13, 14 years old. You get the consequences of them being an addict, but you are not the cause of them being the addict, but you have pain as well. Statistically speaking, a lot of pain. So you guys can come do an intensive or do some phone counseling, get out of this and literally watch your income grow. Watch your self-esteem grow. Watch your moral and emotional decision-making, your emotional maturity grow. Now there's skills to get some of this done, but the people I've worked with, they get those skills either through the materials or the counseling or the intensive, and these tools work. And so the addict can heal, the partner can heal, the marriage can heal if you're married, and the finances heal just like the spiritual heals, like the social heals, like the moral heals. All of that is part of a better quality of life. I've lived it myself. I remember what it's like being trapped, and I was broke. Okay, I am not broke by any stretch of the imagination now, but I've been clean for 40 years, tested by a polygraph. You deserve that. So if we can be of help, please feel free to give us a call and go to drdougweiss.com or go to sexaddict, sexaddict.com. Some of the books will be in the description, The Final Freedom and things like that. I really hope you take this encouragement to not only make more money, but just have a great life. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button. If you have a question, put it in the box. And I want you to make the best effort at taking your next best step.